Hey guys, the video you are about to see is actually from 5 months ago, back in May, that I have recorded this story time, but I just never got around to posting it. There was a lot of resistance. Um, I don't know, I posted other things after I made that video. I don't know why. I'm just now posting it. But anyway, this is me 5 months later, and basically the whole point of that video was basically to give the story of just how it was the training wheels to expressing my communication when it comes to men and expressing my communication when something inside of me is kind of bothering me. And even though it's bothering me, I have the power to speak up. And the reason why it was so hard for me to do this at the time of that video is because in recent experiences, when I was expressing how I was feeling, I got a really shitty outcome from who I told it to. It was really nasty. I wasn't validated for what I was expressing, and so it kind of created a barrier between me, and kind of that belief where it was like, well, if someone's gonna react poorly to what I'm gonna say, like, I am not worthy of speaking it, which is not the truth. It's so far from the truth. For one, I have learned now that I can't control how people are going to react. I can't create that outcome. Even if I plan it out in my brain of a million different ways it could go out, it might not be anything how I plan it. And I have to be okay with that. I have to accept that. And I am so worthy of speaking whatever it is that has come to my mind, whether it's good or bad. And so, yeah, in this video, is kind of like the first time where I really had the courage to express how I was feeling and actually moving forward with that. It definitely wasn't very linear, as you'll see in the story, but I'm excited to share it with you guys, and I'm really proud of myself for gaining that courage, because it has become easier after that encounterment to know that I'm not gonna die from expressing how I feel. Like, I'm safe. No matter how it goes, I am safe in my own body, you know? Okay. So without further ado, here's the video from 5 months prior.
I don't know why, but I'm feeling very called to share this story in this very moment. So let's get into it. I'm going to be sharing my journey to my up level in communication. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, so let's start off with, so lately I've been very into line dancing. It's been my whole world. I love it so much. And I've been going like consistently, like every week, as long as my job permits it. And so there was this guy there. Mind you, I'm doing my own thing. I don't have a problem going by myself. But yeah, there's this guy there, and he kind of comments on like my dancing. Like he could tell that I was new. So he was like, oh, it's like looking like you guys are having a lot of fun. He was saying to me and this other girl that I had just met that night. And so I felt called to, I forget what I had asked him, but point blank is he ended up telling me about some other, about West Coast Swing, and he asked for my number so that he could give me more information on it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he texts me all the information. We're texting back here and there over the next few days. And then the following week comes and I see him, but I wasn't gonna like say anything because it was just like, I don't know, whatever. But what got me was the same friend that was there with me last week. She was there this time, and he had said hi to her, like, hi, how you doing, and hugged her, which is fine. But then he didn't say anything to me, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And so in my brain, I'm like, did he mistake her for me? And the reason why I wondered that is because he didn't have any conversation with the other girl the prior to week, and that was her first time there. So I'm like, that's interesting. And of course, we were both women of color, and so that's what really had me thinking that. But yeah, you know, I was like, whatever, I'll brush it off. And then what really got me was he ended up saying something to me, but he was like, hey, can I get your number? And I'm like, what? Huh? I'm like, you already have my number. We've been already texting. And he's like, what? Really? And I literally had to show him the text, and then he goes on his phone and he sees it. And I'm like, what? And you know on iPhones, like, you're able to share your picture and your name. So I'm like, you saw it was me. I'm like, what the hell? And I don't remember what his response was in that moment. But once again, I had brushed it off. And so I go back to dancing, and by the end of the night, he asks me if I want to go out for drinks. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so we go out for drinks, and we actually ended up having like a really great conversation. We were talking a lot about personal development, spirituality, and I've never had a conversation really with a man like that. Maybe one time. But, you know, and then he was just like giving me a lot of compliments that were very internal, like saying that it seemed like I'm intellectually aware, all this stuff. And it was very, very flattering, you know? And I was digging the conversation a lot. I found out like he likes to travel and all that amazing stuff. And he had went to the bathroom, I think, and I remember texting my friend Ashley and saying like, okay, I'm out with this guy for drinks. Is this actually gonna be something, or is this another opportunity for growth from God? Because at this point, I don't know. I'm like, what's going on? He's like touching my arm. He's trying to give me hints or something. But I'm like, you know what? Okay, we're gonna just go with it. And so we ended up walking around in the park, and he kisses me. So I'm like, okay, this is the route we're going down. We end up going to his apartment, which was really nice, by the way. It was right downtown, which I was like, ooh, okay, I like that. And I loved the old charm of the building and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, more things checking off. But then that's when, you know, we started making out. It was great. But I knew, in my brain, I'm like, okay, I know my boundaries. I know that I am not getting into a guy unless unless we are both on the same page about being in a serious relationship, like that's leading to it. Like I'm not here for the flings. I've done that route. Like, no, that's not happening. Like, so, and what was crazy was he is actually the one to say, oh, by the way, I don't, unless I'm in a serious relationship. And I was like, once again, never had a guy express that before. So I was like, wow. I'm like, okay, this man is like mirroring the things that I desire in a man. Completely forgot about the shit that he did prior because I was so fixated on the great things that he had, and I was just like, wow. And so we didn't end up doing anything further than the makeout. He walks me to my car because he at first said, like, can I get you an Uber? And I'm like, no, I'd rather you walk me to my car. And he was like, fair enough, like, valid. I'm like, okay. So I was like, okay, this night was good. Forgetting about what he did prior to that. And so it wasn't until like a few days later where that incident of him mistaking me for the other girl and him not remembering that we've been texting, that started to come up, and I started to come back into reality. And I was like, I need to speak of this. But I was on a work trip, and apparently he was also traveling. So I was like, okay, so I have to say this when I see him. So I'm like literally like on ChatGPT, like seeing like what the perfect thing I'm going to say to him, where I'm like not like blaming him, but coming from a feminine energy, just like wanting just not confirmation, wanting clarification is the word. Just wanting clarification to know where his head is. And I also wanted to know, like, where is your headspace as far as being in a serious relationship? I'm not saying that we have to be in a serious relationship yet, but I'm like, where is there a potential there for us to get to know each other, to see if, we're a right fit, if that makes sense. So, mind you, this is something that I have been struggling with for many, many men to come, like just like getting that clarification on wanting to know if they wanted a relationship or if it's just a fling. Like just getting that clarification from a man has been an ongoing journey for me. So it was very uncomfortable. And so it actually ended up being a lot quicker than I thought. I thought I was going to be seeing him on Friday, but I actually ended up seeing him on Thursday because they had a line dancing, and I didn't even think that he was going to be there. So I see him, and he's like, hey, he was like, is there something that you wanted to say to me. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, we're here, like, I gotta say it. And so I didn't back out. I told him, you know, what you did that night, it made me feel really unseen and undervalued, that you didn't even remember that we were texting. You didn't even remember that you got my number and you mistaken me for my friend. You know, it's just not a good look. And then he was like, I totally understand. I think he said something like, oh, I was texting a lot of people that throughout that night. I got a lot of numbers, so I didn't even realize it was a different Brianna. It was like some BS, and I was just like, okay. I literally was just like, okay. And I should have kept going and been like, you know, like, so like, where do we stand? Like, what was that night that we had? Is that a one-time thing? Or, you know, was it one and done? You know, I need to know. Like, I respect your answer either way, but I need to know what this is. What path are we going on? But I didn't end up saying that on Thursday. So it was Friday. And here we go. So now I gotta build up the courage all over again. And what made it a little bit more difficult is the fact that his friend was there for the first time. So not only did I have to try to get him like by himself to ask this, it was just like, because it's so crowded there, and I was already nervous. I was like, like, it's so loud. I don't want to do it with all these people that he knows, da 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 da. And I went the entire night without saying anything. And then that's when it's over, and I had the opportunity to kind of ask or like get him to himself, but I didn't. And next thing you know, the moment has passed, and him and his friend go a different way, and I go my way, and I'm just like walking down the street, just like so upset at myself. I'm like, no, like, why? Why did I say anything? I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't go another week without saying anything. Like, I gotta know now. And so, oh, mind you, me and a friend and his friend hit it off pretty well. He was super cool. I ended up getting his number just to, because he lives in Boston. He was like, if you're ever in Boston, I can show you around. Like, I was like, okay, cool. You know, didn't think anything of it. And so that's when I texted his friend because he wanted to know of some salsa dancing spots. And so I was at the park, the same park that me and the other guy had kissed for the first time. And I texted the friend giving him the salsa information. And then he responds, and I was like, thanks, it was great meeting you. Do you happen to be around either tonight or tomorrow? Would you like to go out for drinks with me and my friend? And so I'm like, are you referring to the friend that brought you here? And he's like, yeah. So then I get a call from him, and I'm like, oh boy. And then he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at the park. He's like, which park? I tell him the park. And he's like, oh my gosh, we're like 30 seconds from you. And I'm like, what? I was like, he's like, yeah, do you want to come out for drinks? And I'm like, I knew that this was God being like, okay, girl, like, you didn't do it the first time. You acknowledge that you didn't do it. Here's your chance. Boom. Don't fuck up. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to do it. And so we go to the bar, and the friend goes to the bathroom. So I can be to the bathroom, guys. And I knew in that moment, like, that was the small window of opportunity for me to state what I was about to say. And at first I had this long drawn out speech that I was going to say, which would have been good if we were like by ourselves and stuff. But I knew I had like a minute tops to say this. So I'm like, I say, okay, was the night we had, was it a one-time thing? And he says, yes. And he was like, is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, that's good. I just needed to know, I want to be on the same page. I don't want to get led on, blah, 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 blah. And it honestly was just like a relief. It was like just a relief that was lifted off of me, because I was like, oh my gosh, okay, now I'm not like super nervous around him because I don't have anything to say. I've done the uncomfortable. We're here. We're good. All right, great, cool. At least what I thought. And then that night, I get home and I start like bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, why am I bawling my eyes out over a man that I just met? What the heck is going on? And so I put it into chat, and chat was like, you don't have to see crying as something bad. It's a great form of release. This is actually you shedding, your emotions for him. And they were like, even though it was brief, it was still a real connection. It felt real for you. It just didn't go the way you thought. And so this is actually great that you are releasing this. And I'm like, okay, great. Because I feel like growing up, like crying was deemed as a bad thing. So I'm like, why am I crying? But after chat said that, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But it's so interesting because, to top it off, there was a dancing venue on Sunday, and I didn't really feel nervous to come up to him and say hi anymore. So I was like, okay, like I see him, I'm gonna say hi. And you could tell, his energy was so different. Like, it was almost as if he didn't want me to say hi to him, but since I did, he tried to play it off like, oh, hey. It was really bizarre, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. That's the last time I'm going to be giving you my energy, sir. That was a no-no. What do you think this is? I'm like, what are you trying to not acknowledge me because you're trying to talk to these other girls? I'm like, you know what? Thank you, God, for taking him away. I know what his purpose was for coming into my life, so I could practice communicating and expressing my feelings to my future husband. Thank you. Goodbye. Leave. I was just like, I cannot. So that's that. I just wanted to share that because I'm really proud of myself for doing that and being in a place where I'm not hung up over the what could have happened, and really standing my ground for what I value and what my truth is, because the old version of me would have, for one, not even have said nothing about the night, about where we stand. I would have just played it off like we were okay and he would have never known. And then two, I forget what I was about to say. Number two, dang it. But yeah, guys, know your worth and understand that there's so many men out here, and sometimes God will place people in front of us just for us to grow. And so if it ends up not working out, we can feel into the emotion, whatever might come up, but just know wholeheartedly, like, you are one step closer to meeting the person of your desires, you know, as long as you are staying true to yourself and staying true to what you stand for and what you value. God, you will attract the person that of your desires. You will. And I know that. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that. But yeah, that's that story. Let's see who shows up next. Okay. Thank you for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Okay, I just had to jump back on here and say that literally soon as I got done making this video, I saw 999 on my email list. And 999 is literally significant to completion. Like, you are done. You've closed a chapter out of your life. You're ready to move on. Now, if that is not entailing that I have fully let go of that situation and I'm ready to step in and embody that new version of me. That's great. Oh my God. God is always here for the signs and the confirmations.